Episode 3, The Verdict. Let's get started. Could you show me the bite? Nova obeyed. Her skin was red and swollen where Zakira's fangs had sunk in. The wound didn't turn black, which means there's a little poison in it. That's good. Lania started rummaging through her bag, taking out vials of liquids, dried herbs, a small pot, and brewer's stand. She poured some powder into the bottom compartment, hung the pot, lit a fire with a spell, and began brewing. A remedy, most probably. She has a mark, too. She's a witch. A herbalist, it seems. Watch her work. The catcher wasn't in the mood to chat, so she just watched her. Sensing her gaze, the woman eventually broke the silence. Constantino didn't tell me what exactly happened here, but it must have been quite serious. You could say that. Therbost opened one of her flasks and sniffed its contents. Grimacing, she closed it again and threw it back in her bag. It's gone bad. Ugh. I knew I should have made more. Nova frowned slightly. Are you sure you aren't going to make me feel worse? She laughed. Don't worry, that wouldn't be in the best interest at all. Constantino will give me grief if I mess up the time capture. Do you work for him? Sort of. Her eyes gleamed mischievously. What an interesting answer. Ask what she meant by that. Sort of. I used to be in his clan. I'm not anymore. No, but you don't deny a patriarch. Even a former one. The catcher's face fell slightly in surprisement, which seemed to amuse her. You got it right. She opened her mouth to show off her sharp fangs. They were smaller than Lucian's, but still left no doubt. You're a vampire. Half vampire. So, it is possible after all. I remember reading about experiments with injecting vampire venom into people who already have presence, but I don't think any of them were successful. She shrugged, adding another handful of herbs to the pot. Yes, it tends to end badly, but in most cases, the person's innate form of presence rejects the vampire one, and then poof! She spreads her hands, mimicking an explosion. The person dies in great pain. But I got lucky. I did have to pay a price, though. I lost my ability to do complex magic, even though I was pretty amazing at it before I was turned. The vampire potential didn't unfold in me fully either, so I'm sort of stuck in the middle, an unremarkable witch and an unimpressive vampire. Why did you decide to do it at all? Oh, the answer is very banal. I fell in love. Her name is Aurora. I wanted to be with her forever, and life-prolonging potions alone wouldn't cut it. I had to take a risk, try to become like her. You could have died. I didn't care. I was ready to do anything if it meant she wouldn't have to watch me grow old and shrivel up like a prune. She sighed, a dreamy smile on her lips. She still ended up leaving me, by the way. You don't seem bothered by that. Oh, it was a long time ago. Why would I mope around about it? I'm glad to have known a love like that. Are you saying it was worth it? Even though she ended up breaking your heart? Yes. Before she broke it, she was very gentle with it for many, many years. I'm grateful. Aurora's still in Constantino's clan, by the way. If you happen to meet her, tell her I said hello. Nova nodded, absent-mindedly, lost in thought. Soon, steam from the bubbling cauldron engulfed the room. The smell and sound were soothing, and the catcher relaxed, reclining on the sofa. All right, seems like it should be ready in about 20. I'm going to step out for a smoke. Stay here, yeah? Yeah. She found herself alone again, but not for long. Nova, how delighted I am to see you safe and sound. He approached from behind, but she didn't have the energy to even flinch in surprise. Hello, Constantino. Is there anything I can help you with? He seemed surprised by the question. Even now, you manage to remain polite. No, all that is required of you is to rest and recover. Let me express my deepest sympathy for what you went through. Had I known the truth about Herbert, I wouldn't have let him near you. I was, however, unaware of his true nature. I've come to inform you about our further actions and to bring more clarity to the situation. She sat up a little straighter. After our friends paid him a visit, Piagat realized his plan could fail. He is far from stupid. He predicted they'd return to search the house. So he made preparations. And knowing that he would have to deal with a vampire, he contacted the Order of Eternal Light. Ever heard of it? Yes, but I wouldn't mind learning more about the Order. And I would prefer that it sank into oblivion. I assume you know the general information. It's an old order that was founded in the Kingdom of England with the purpose of eradicating vampires as a species. They've been hunting us for centuries, so they have quite a well-rounded knowledge of both our strengths and our weaknesses. My Vincessa. His lower lip twitched, and he swallowed before continuing. She died at their hands. She was an obscure one, born a vampire. The Order hunts those with her particular diligence. That's because the venom of the obscure ones is much more potent than that of the turned. It's the primary ingredient in a special concoction that the members of the Order created. They use it to coat their bullets. We can easily regenerate after a gunshot wound, but under normal circumstances, but a shot with such a bullet would be fatal. Who knows? Maybe the bullet that was meant for Lucian was soaked in a solution containing her venom. Naturally, they have a lot of other artifacts developed specifically to fight us. He clasped his hands together. That should give you enough of an idea about the Order. Since Lucian is alive, does that mean that the member of the Order who came here is dead? Of course. Somewhere in this maze, under the house, there now lies a lifeless body. Lucian killed someone tonight. And it doesn't change the way I see him at all. He did what he had to. He had no other choice otherwise. It would be him lying there. The patriarch cleared his throat, drawing our attention back to him. Since the Order got involved, we will be the ones to decide Herbert's fate. We? You mean the vampires? Yes. I see. Fair enough, considering the Order is your sworn enemy. Vesper has already agreed to this, I presume? He nodded. Nova thought about the polymorph and their fate. She was having a hard time figuring out how to feel. Herbert imprisoned her, meant to use her, threatened her. He killed people. Who knows how many? The young woman frowned. There's nothing to think about. It doesn't matter what the vampires do to him. Everything happened as it should have. I don't feel sorry for him at all. He brought this upon himself. Vesper quietly entered the room. She looked tired, but her eyes were burning with life, a thirst for action. Constantino, he's ready. Splendid. Goodbye, Nova. I hope you'll recover quickly and are soon able to... The older witch interrupted him, shaking her head. You're expected back there. He jutted his chin, but left the living room without saying another word. The catcher looked at Vesper, grateful. More pressure was the last thing she needed. Vesper took a deep breath, smelling the simmering liquids. I think she added sage. Nice, isn't it? What a night! It'll take me at least a week to recover. It was so strange to see myself from that perspective. He turned to the other woman. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to tell which one of us was the real one. We looked exactly the same. But you figured it out. Don't know how, but you did. So quickly, too. Great job. Vesper gave her a fleeting smile. I need to go deal with the painting. Let me know if you need anything. There were still hints of excitement in her expression, but she kept trying to push them away. Stay with me. It only took Vesper a second to make the decision. She stepped over to the couch. Okay. She sat down on the sofa next to the catcher and crossed her legs. Nova was looking at her own nails, lips pursed. Her heartbeat was slow, cumbersome. What if I can't figure out what the portrait is hiding? Vesper frowned at the unexpected question. The catcher diligently avoided her gaze. She already knew that she was what she was meant to the Cardinal, or thought she did. Now she wanted to understand what she meant to Vesper and the Incineration Alliance. We don't even... Let's just say the key to the next steps lies in the painting. What if I fail? Not you, we, Nova. You make it sound like you're in this alone. What difference does it make? That's not what I'm asking. The older witch sighed, looking at her, the woman next to her with a hint of reproach. It makes a big difference. Your gifts play an important role, but that doesn't mean all the responsibility falls on you. If we fail together. She shivered. Although I do hope we won't. We'll try hard. Everything should work out. But it might not work out. What the... No, it can't. It can't not work out. But... Oh, stop it. Will you? What is it that you want to hear? If it doesn't work out, we'll have to stay on the margins of society. We'll have to keep hiding. We'll die in the same unfamiliar, rotten world we were born into. Or perhaps it will be even worse, given the recent spikes of numbers of layoffs, arrests, murders during the detainment. Those responsible for the deaths and ruined lives of people like us. No one will answer for the abuse, the loneliness of children in orphanages for others. No one will answer for my loneliness. Anger. Angry tears rolled down her cheeks. Nova went numb under a gaze hot as holy fire, accusatory, lashing. If it doesn't work out, everyone will know that behind all my strength, composure, and calculation, there's an ugly fear. She put a trembling hand to her throat. It's strangling me. I'm afraid that I've taken on too much. I'm afraid of failing, of not living up to expectations, but what scares me the most is the idea that everything will just stay the way it is. That everything will be in vain. My aspirations, my hardships, my entire life, every second of it in vain. Running her palm over her face, Vesper shook her head. I hope that answers your question. Throat dry, Nova found the strength to say after a pause. I'm sorry. I kept pushing. I didn't mean to upset you. I don't know what came over me. The catcher clenched the fabric of her clothes in her fists. She knew perfectly well what came over her. She knew exactly what she wanted to hear, that her worth wasn't determined by her gift alone, that she was significant as a person. That regardless of whether she succeeded or not, she would still be needed. But even if that were the case, would it change anything? It wouldn't be in vain, even if we couldn't find the source. Or don't. You've already influenced so many lives, including mine. You are not omnipotent. No one can carry all this weight alone. Vesper smiled weakly. Do you understand now why it's so important that you don't think you're alone either? Yes. How did you put it? If we fail together. Their eyes meet. Thank you. I'm feeling a little better after getting all that off my chest. I didn't know I had so much tension built up inside. She was no longer crying, but a tear was glistening on her cheek. Wiped the tear away. Nova reached out to touch Vesper's face, gently wiping the tear away. She let her hand linger for a moment and started to pull back, but Vesper gently grabbed her wrist and put her palm against her hot cheek. Exhaling, she closed her eyes while Nova watched her, as if enchanted by a spell. Everything about her felt so right, from her wheat-colored hair to her birthmarks, one under her eye, one on her chin, one above her eyebrow. Vesper leaned in closer, like a drowning woman clinging to a lifeline. Nova got lost in her presence, the feel of her skin, the rhythm of her breathing. Their hearts slowed, and the air was heavy with unspoken words. When Vesper opened her eyes, the clarity and sincerity in them interrupted all thoughts in Nova's head. "Stay with us, Nova. Stay with me." Nova felt the strings of her heart snap with a sharp, crooked sound. Overcoming the cold that gripped her, she whispered, "Of course. I wasn't going anywhere." "Good." It was barely an audible, unsteady word with a bitter taste. "She's very pretty." Vespers let her palm up the other woman's arm, squeezing it slightly as she pondered what to say next. "You know, sometimes it feels like—" She was interrupted by a knock at the door. With a quick smile, the older witch pulled away and got up. "Someone will come get you when it's time to leave." And with that, she left the room, nodding at Elena at the doorway. The herbalist glanced between the two women, but said nothing. As Nova was gathering her thoughts, Elena came over to check on the remedy. "It seems like it's ready. One serving should be enough for you." She poured the potion into her glass she brought with her and handed it to Nova. Delicious looking. Hopefully it tastes like kiwi. Nova took a sip. The taste was bitter, but still pleasant. She made another portion for Onyx before taking the glass to her. She added a drop of some oil to the liquid. "Animals have a strong resistance to animal poisons, so she will recover soon after you do." After a while, when all the matters were concluded, the Incineration Alliance left Herbert Piguet's mansion behind. It was time to go home. A few days later. Inhale and exhale. I can't fit that much air in my lungs, Jorge. And yet somehow you managed to find some for chatter. Come on, downward dog. Oh, yoga. Jorge slid in the right position if it were a piece of cake. Inspired by his example, Nova rested her palms on the mat and leaned back. When her muscles tightened, she could barely hold back a pained whimper. Inhale. Exhale. And Shavasana. Once on her back, the catcher closed her eyes. Her body liked the yoga pose more than any other, but her mind refused to slow down. He taught her to focus on her breathing to clear her head, but she gave up after a few minutes of trying. I'm meeting Renato tonight, for the first time since my return. Another sleepless night. Maybe we should try meeting during the day, somewhere crowded with tons of tourists. But then again, there would be a much higher chance of bumping into someone from the Magistrum. Thoughts about the Magistrum started a line of thinking that eventually brought her to Peter Grigorov. With so much going on, the fact that he's hunting me is starting to seem like a small, insignificant thing, but I can't take it so lightly. He won't stop until he finds... Let's think about something else. I can hear you thinking. Startled, she sat up. What? He sat up as well, crossing his legs. Figuratively speaking. How did you like the class? It was great. Be even better once I learn to shut my brain up. It will take time. Stretching, he tilted his head to the side, looking into the woman's eyes. I'm glad you came to me with the nightmares. She shrugged awkwardly. She didn't want to discuss it, but she knew she wouldn't solve the problem by running away from it. Yeah, I hope these are all direction-facing dogs and your tinctures will help me with my, get my thoughts in order. Nightmares had bothered her before, but after the day she spent imprisoned in Piguet's mansion, they became a nightly occurrence. Not knowing who else to turn to, she decided to talk to Jorge. He suggested that she started practicing yoga. Be patient, be gentle with yourself. Don't rush your body and your brain. Give them a break. Thanks for the guidance, Master. He rolled his eyes good-naturedly, and Nova got up to start rolling up her mat. I won't be able to do a session with you tomorrow. Shen and I need to replenish my herb supply. But you can ask Onyx if she's free. Yeah, got it. Do you know who's cooking today? The new girl. Zara? Right, okay. I'll be going. Thanks again. Back in her room, Nova showered, changed into her pajamas, and climbed into bed with a pile of spell books that other witches from the nest recommended to her. As soon as evening fell, the catcher started getting ready to meet Renata. Casual outfit, soft coat, leather coat. Buy all outfits. These are actually fairly cheap. And we'll do soft coat. All good. Oh my god, we didn't change our hair this time. This time, the meeting was taking place at a different location. Once inside, Nova looked around, appreciating the interior. This hotel was definitely better than the previous one, although the atmosphere wasn't particularly pleasant. At least there's a table and chairs. Nova. Good evening. He took a hasty step towards her with a broad smile, as if he was about to hug her, but stopped in the middle of the movement. Looking down at the floor, he clasped his hands behind his back. I'm glad you're well. He invited her to sit down, and they settled onto the chairs opposite each other. Tell me everything that happened. The catcher nodded and started her story. He listened, only occasionally interrupting her to ask a question. So the Consideration Alliance is the portrait now? Yes, Vesper hid it in a safe place. We haven't decided what approach to take. I doubt examinations and assessments will be enough. Roberts mentioned he tried everything too. There's no reason not to believe him, considering he went to such extreme measures as kidnapping. Exactly. Besides, the more people, ordinary or others, know that we have the painting, the worse it would be. I think we should manage on our own. Will you be able to use your abilities? This is our only option so far, but I won't be able to venture that far into the past. Vesper mentioned she would introduce me to someone soon. I suppose this someone will be trying to help me with my presence. Is it safe? She smiled. It was nice of him to consider that. I don't know yet, but as you understand, I will have to take the risk unless we come up with something else. He nodded. I see. I'll feel caught up around and I'll let you know if we come up with any ideas ourselves. Of course. She shifted in her seat. Now was the time to ask the question that was tormenting her. Have you told him of my request? Oh, yes, I have. He said that he was very sorry, but he doesn't have the time to see you right now. His Eminence thanks the Lord for your return, promises that he will contact you as soon as he has the opportunity to take a step back from his duties. Swallowing a lump in her throat, Nova nodded several times, clutching the watch that he had gifted her in her pocket. Okay. For a second, she felt like a child again. Mary Louisa is dad coming back today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, but why can't he? Even now, she wanted to ask why. He didn't have the time. But she knew the answer. God and his call had always stood above everything else. She could not compare to him. I shouldn't have asked Renato to tell Father I wanted to see him. This can certainly be seen as a sign of weakness. Nova. Yeah, but you're a human being. What if I hadn't come back? Would he even care? Or would he brush off the news of my death as if it were some annoying fly? These thoughts were immediately followed by a pang of guilt. How dare I think of him like that? Conflicting, acrid feelings enveloped her soul, and squeezing so tightly she lost her breath. Nova. The young woman blinked. She'd forgotten she wasn't alone. He watched the expressions changing on her face, his shoulders tense, eyebrows raised slightly. She saw the sympathy in his eyes. It was translucent, secret. Are you all right? Tell the truth. Their eyes met, and the deceitful yes that was about to slither off her lips evaporated. She couldn't lie to him, not when he was looking at her with such concern. Not when he was looking at her like he really cared. So she told him the truth. The days I spent locked up in that room were the worst days of my life. I imagined dying there. Now that I'm back in Rome, but my mind seems to have remained within those walls. I'm having nightmares every night. And after that, I was hoping to see... She almost said father, but caught herself just in time. Only 3 people knew she was the adopted daughter of the Cardinal. The Cardinal himself, she, and Maria Luisa. Shaking her head ruefully, she bit her upper lip. Nova was already starting to regret allowing herself such honesty. He didn't join the mission for her to pour her heart out to him. I apologize. It's not appropriate. But the priest had already risen from his seat to approach her. Stopping in front of her, he squatted down and said quietly yet firmly, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this has happened to you, and that you haven't found the support you were hoping for. I'm sorry I wasn't there to help you. There's no way you could have. Still, we have work to do, and I would like you to remember that you can count on me. Despite the fact that we are different. She cut him off. We are too different, Father Renato. The truth is that the purpose of our mission is to rid people like you of people like me. You can't know that. Nova shook her head with a resigned smile. She did know. She knew all too well. Renato, your first choice will improve the second your friendship. Why not? Her hands were in her lap. Pressed together, he took them in his. His fingertips ran over the outside of her wrists, hasty, fleeting, making them both flinch. He looked at her, swallowed in frozen anticipation of protest, but it didn't come, and he began, his voice low. No one can know that for certain. The Lord works in mysterious ways. There are many things that separate us, but there are also things that unite us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now. Maybe we are similar in more ways than we think. He broke off, but a confident expression returned to his face a moment later. I thought of you. I prayed you would come back unharmed, and my prayers were answered. Maybe that means... Nova felt the storm that engulfed him, doubts, denial, duty, hope. It was hope that hurt the deepest. I'm sure the Vatican wouldn't approve of a priest praying for another. Her face betrayed no emotion, and her voice was trembling. You're still human. But am I? Leaning in slightly, she turned her left arm to show him the ominous letters on her wrist. You cannot renounce your darkness, for your very being is defiled by the devil's touch. The devil, Renato. It would serve you well to remember those words, as I do. I don't think I've forgotten them, Nova. Not even for a second. They stared into each other's eyes for a moment longer. The catcher could swear she heard the whisper of an adversary. His ordered her to look down at Renato's lips, pushing her into his arms, wanting her to forget everything she had just said, and let it all go to hell. The adversary had her voice. Renato squeezed her hands once more, as if he wanted to remember what it was like to hold them in his own. Releasing her, he stood up and glanced at the clock. I think it's time for you to go. Back to the nest. Yes, it's time. Goodbye. Goodbye. She quietly closed the door behind her. A man of faith was literally about to, question it, and she's the only one who Okay, alright. The next evening, Nova went to Onyx's room, knocking. She was granted permission to enter, but not from the Anamorphics. Stepping inside, she saw Talus. He was sitting on the floor with a guitar in his hands. "Evening, Savior." Some sounds were still difficult for him, but that phrase came out pretty clean. You have the opportunity to enter a polyamorous relationship with Talus and Onyx. On this path, each member of the Triad will have deep feelings for the other two. The pass will be available to those who are romancing Onyx and have a good relationship with both characters. If you are not concerned in this path, you can choose to continue your relationship with Onyx. If Nova chooses a different love interest, you can push Onyx and Talus towards each other. A monogamous relationship with Talus is unavailable. Hi, Talus. Onyx should be back soon. She's helping Makoto with his things. He's moving out today. You can wait for her here in the meantime if you want. With a smile and a nod, the time catcher sat down on the edge of the bed. Talus looked down at the guitar and continued plucking the strings. The melody came out sporadic, uneven. From time to time, he muttered something under his breath, irritated. What are you playing? He shot her a glance. Trying to play, rather. Years without practice and having wings for hands have had a very bad effect on my skills. I used to play in a band. Those were good times. So, you were a rock star? Mm-hmm. Wrote my own songs, too. Your own songs? I'd like to hear them sometime. He's chuckled. I need to relearn how to play first, but thanks. The conversation was interrupted when the owner of the room stepped inside. Nova, hey. Her smile seemed a little strained, but her ears and tails made it clear she was glad to see the witch. Nova nodded slowly, trying to calm her racing heart. She was somewhat used to the feelings Onyx evoked in her, but that didn't make her fighting them any easier, well, especially since you're connected to her. Onyx came up and nudged Talus with her foot. Still here. You have your own room now. But I don't have my own guitar. And there it was again, a barely noticeable blush on Talus's cheeks. Onyx turned back to the catcher, resting her hands on her hips. To what do I owe this pleasure? I started doing yoga to manage my stress. I usually exercise with Jorge, but he's busy today. He told me to ask you. At this rate, we should open our own studio. She tapped her chin with her finger, glancing at the clock. I'm free for the next hour or so. But I have something better than yoga. Want to get some fresh air? You know I can't go outside. I know a place where you can go. No one will see you there, promise. What do you say? I guess I could use a distraction like that. Sounds good. Great, then let's go. Nova knew she should be more vigilant, but decided to trust her familiar. Let's go. Nova shifted her gaze to Talus, who kept plucking the strings, pretending their conversation didn't faze him at all. I'm not a behavioral analyst, but something tells me that Talus does actually care. The catcher thought about it, looking between Onyx and Talus. Invite him to join. Nova went up to Onyx and whispered in her ear. Maybe we should invite Talus with us. He's a good friend of yours, and it'd be nice for me to get to know him better. Maybe he and I could be friends too. Oh, sure, that'd be fun. Talus, wanna come with? Talus startled. I don't have any plans for today, so, why not? Looking up at Nova, he smiled softly. Thanks for the invitation. He put down the guitar, and the three of them left the room. On the way, the witch kept feeling like she'd already walked this route, and when they arrived at their destination, she realized why. Nothing seemed to have changed in the living room. Same show, same rich smell of spices from the kitchen, the same beaming smile on the hostess's face. Nixie, Talus, oh Nova! Dee Dee. Nova hugged Chidago tightly, feeling an inexplicable warmth inside. I brought her to see your garden. Don't tell Vesper though, okay? She'll rip my tail off. That'd be the right thing to do. She turned her gaze back to the catcher, frowning. I'm happy to see you. I am, don't get me wrong, but I see you on TV every day. Though, come to think of it, no others are safe on the streets right now anyway. Have you seen the news? The warlock who was arrested in Corcio died in the hospital. They refused to let a herbalist in. He might have survived if being allowed to receive care from another. Dee Dee shook her head as she sat down at the table. It's getting worse every day. A witch who stayed with me recently set one of the Magistrum offices on fire not long ago. Oh, how stupid. Bold, but stupid. Why? She probably did it in protest. She didn't achieve anything. They'll restore the building, send her to prison, and every news channel will be doing a piece on how others are arsonists and a danger to society. Yes, but she made a point, sort of. Maybe something good can still come of it, who knows? No one answered. The atmosphere grew grim, weighed down with questions that no one had answers to. Looking up, Nova met Talus's gaze. He smiled at her gently before saying, Nova wanted to relax and get her mind off things. Can we show her the garden, Dee? Yes, the garden. Weird that I didn't take you there last time, Nova. We certainly need to make that right. Go ahead. I'll stay here and cook something. Are you hungry? Not really. Me neither. Dee laughed heartily. I don't ever have to ask. And that's a good thing. I'll always have someone to cook for. Chidago ruffled her hair and retired to the kitchen. Wow. That's very pretty. Love the sunset. The garden was on the roof. Small, little wind, and beautiful. Nova flinched when she heard sharp claps. Disturbed by their visit, a pair of birds flew up from one of the bushes and disappeared into the endless sky. The witch took a deep breath. The scent of greenery glided through the air. Flowers clung to life, refusing to be scared by autumn's cold touch. The setting sun, no longer warm, decorated the garden with golden light. It's been here for quite some time. Dee hasn't been able to take proper care of it lately, with so much going on. So I help with the plants. I grew this for Cynthia. She pointed towards one of the pots, a proud smile on her face. Nice. The catcher settled on the couch, expecting Onyx and Talus to join her, but they remained standing by the door. We'll head back down so you can rest. Oh. You don't have to leave. I don't want to be alone. Nova acknowledged it in a low voice, averting her gaze. The words felt too intimate, too sincere to be spoken louder than the rustle of dry leaves. She knew she was giving Onyx mixed signals, pushing her away one moment, asking her for company in the next. She was ashamed, but the Anamorphics didn't seem to judge her at all. All she did was nod and walk over to the couch. Talus stepped closer after a moment's hesitation. He seemed somewhat surprised when she asked him to stay as well. He settled down on a cushion someone left on the floor, and Onyx sat next to Nova. How are you? I don't know. Let's talk about something other than the Pagat mess and the mission in general. Talus came up with a discussion topic pretty quickly. Onyx, how old were you when you started showing signs of anamorphism? I don't think I've ever asked. Oh, I think it wasn't different than most. It started before I could even speak. What about you? Pretty late for me. I was 6, I think. I'm super curious why that raven chose me as his successor, despite my age. Shame it's impossible to find out. Successor? I didn't know there was a name for that. Or I did and forgot. Have you read a lot of Animorphs? Not really, but I remember some things. An animal with presence curses a child, and as a result, both Animorphs protested before she could finish. Curses?
What kind of books did you read? Magistrum-approved propaganda?
I
see. You poor soul.
She's not a poor soul. She has us now. Let's fill in the gaps in her education. Calus twitched an eyebrow at Onyx.
I don't even know which is worse, being taught by you or the Magistrum. Did she tell you how she taught me in stealth surveillance? I flew into a tree by the end of that lesson.
It's not my fault ravens are almost blind in the dark. Now, back to filling in the gaps. Animals with presence, only those who are very powerful can choose a person to transfer their essence to when they feel their end is near.
It has to be a child. Their bodies are still developing, which means the ritual is easier and less painful. Cases like mine are quite rare.
A child who accepts an animal's presence is called a successor. What happens to the animal?
Their body dies, but their spirit continues to live within the Animorph. For them, it's like being reborn, in a way.
Does the spirit affect the personality of the successor in any way? In some degree, maybe, but it's hard to tell. But it's not a curse, it's a gift. They spend a long time carefully choosing who to give their presents to. Calus chuckled, running his hand over the feathers on his forehead.
I remember when I first started getting plumage. Mom almost went crazy. She kept saying it was just some kind of disease up until the very day I turned completely.
Did she put you in an orphanage?
No. She and Dad are not cruel people. They love me even though they're embarrassed by my nature. I visit them sometimes, but only as a raven. Mom's even set up a feeder for me. Put all sorts of seeds there. But I prefer mice.
You know, I'd rather avoid talking about your diet. Nova turned to Onyx, about to say something, but changed her mind, noticing her expression. She stared into space, fidgeting with her fingers. Because Onyx goes for mice too. There's so much sadness in here. So much anger. Seems like parents are a sore subject. Also noticing that, Talus decided to change the subject. He pointed at the colorful sky.
The sun's setting. What a sight.
Yeah. Let's take it in together. Let's. They fell silent, watching the birds fly from the roof to roof in search of food. May I? Onyx pointed at Nova's lap, who nodded without hesitation. Nova lay down with a quiet sigh. Nova put her hand in her hair, almost instinctively caressing her slowly, stroking her behind her cat ears. Soon the Animorphix was purring peacefully, watching the sunset from under her half-closed eyelids. The way Talus looked at them didn't escape the witch's attention. In it, she saw both jealousy and something akin to acceptance. Nova suddenly realized she was staring at him. His skin shone in a translucent light, his feathers shimmering with shades of purple and blue. When their eyes met, Talus blushed with a smile, and that smile made her heart jump. She swallowed nervously and decided to ignore the feeling that snuck up on her, but it persisted, refusing to leave without a fight. Shifting on Nova's lap, Onyx reached out to brush away a lock of hair that had fallen in Talus's face. Why is all your hair such a mess all the time? Her voice sounded hoarse, sleepy. Her hand lingered next to her friend's face, slid over his cheekbone. Something in the gesture pushed the catcher's unknown strange emotions to the limit. As if under some kind of spell, she reached forward and straightened Talus's hair as well. Yeah, Talus, why indeed?
Lost the habit of brushing it.
He closed his eyes, leaning into their lingering touch. Well, that's okay. Nova and I will take responsibility for your hair. We'll make sure you look presentable. Yeah, don't worry about it. Oh, cute. Oh, artwork for all three! Woohoo! As they retreated, Alice thanked each of them with a warm glance, then leaned back slightly. Their eyes were on the beautiful sunset, but their thoughts drifted far away. It's the cover of a band album, I'm serious. Soon, as it was time to go back after a delicious dinner with Dee Dee, the trio returned to the nest. It's so beautiful. I could just sit there and just take it all in. They do some beautiful artwork in this app. A few days later, Nova came up to the bed where she laid out her outfit for tonight. Vesper had it sent to her. I wonder who she's introducing me to, and why I need to wear such curious clothes. Well, I'll find out soon. Alice, Mary, Susanna, Temperance. What am I, dressing for feudal Japan? Am I being crowned a samurai? Like, seriously. I'll go with Mary. It's black, leave me alone. Is this my choice? All good. Current hairstyle, smooth with curls, dark brown, smooth curls blonde, red updo. That doesn't look too bad. Dyed. Dark brown, dyed again. Buy all hairstyles. No, I'll stick with the current one. I really do dig it. No makeup. Genovial Everate. Papilio Mimone. Oh, ho, ho, ho. It goes with the outfit. Buy all options. I like both makeups because it is subtle, right? I do like makeup on women that's subtle. You know, if you go and you dip your face in it like a paint bucket, I don't like it. I'll choose what I'm wearing though. Listen, I have to be conscientious of my diamonds. Plus, I don't think it makes a difference. We bought a diamond outfit. The usual commotion reignited in the common room. Nova noticed Shen standing against the wall with his mug of tea. Lucian, who had been having a quiet conversation with Jorge. Vesper hasn't arrived yet. Talk to Shen. Feel like I haven't seen you in a very long time. Shen nodded and smiled slightly. I see Vesper got you all prepared. The catcher straightened the wrinkles of her outfit. Do I look weird? For the event she's taking you to, it's perfect. She hasn't told me where we're going. Shrugging, the warlock cast a spell to cool his tea and took a sip. Shen didn't mind talking for a while. Dude, that was a while? Vesper's here. Good luck. He disappeared into the kitchen. Nova turned around to greet Vesper as she entered. Oh, you look very beautiful this evening. Nova, ready? I don't know where you're taking me. Do you know what tonight is? Should I? I'm so tempted to say, back in my day. Alright, let's go. You'll see everything soon enough. It sounded both mysterious and intriguing. Vesper gestured towards the door, and the witches left the nest. Thank the developers. Listen, I already gave you guys enough diamonds. I love you guys, don't get me wrong, but I also watch all of your ads every 30 minutes, so yeah. Love you guys, though. Really great. Also, by covering your app and doing your chapters and doing your diamonds and your ads, technically I'm already thanking you more than most any other person. And I give you props in every video. What else do you want? I'm just saying. Diamonds, hey look, 3. Had to get my diamonds. So 1 to sun, 1 to moon, 3 to status, 0 to power. Yeah. Let's go ahead and real quick say the following. If you did enjoy, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Head down the description. Plenty of things to check out, ways to support, and whatnot. Oh no! We have to wait a month. So, episode 4 will hopefully be coming out, which let me just fact check, because actually I do know that typically the app people will say who, what, when, where. Let me just check and see. All right, so I just went ahead and just checked. By the way, if you all want ever to discuss these apps, these games, whatnot, we do have a Discord. Check that out, description. So it looks like episode 4, 5, and 6 are scheduled to be coming out on June 20th. So we'll have one more Diamond Rush probably before then. So I'll be covering a lot of other things, but feel free to check that out. Otherwise, like I said, if you want to continue to support this channel, this content, and whatnot, um, please consider subscribing, consider sharing, and whatnot. I would like to focus more on this and try and get more of this done. But again, I'm kind of just going as it comes out, right? Especially for some of these books. And then also playing catch up, because I mean, this is an app that, as most of you may or may not know, it has a big like community in other parts of the world. However, coming here to across the pond in the States, it's something that not a lot of people know about. So far, a lot of people are like, "Who? What app?" And in all honesty, you can always check that information, and usually across the pond, as they say, or at least my buddy says, a lot more of you know of this app. So I'm playing catch up, right? Let's put it this way. It's like coming to Choices after like 6 years and being like, wow, I didn't even know this existed, and you're in another part of the world. You now have 6 years to catch up. Me, I don't have 6 years to catch up, thankfully, but I'm playing catch up on a lot of these books and trying to do it in a timely paced manner, because there is a lot of other stuff that we do on this channel. So yeah, consider checking that out as well. Catch you all later. Peace out.